Today, we're diving into one of the most challenging and honestly, one of the most core ideas in the Christian faith. It's a statement from Jesus that seems to turn all our natural instincts completely upside down. The idea that to truly find your life, you have to follow the way of the cross. And here it is, straight from Jesus himself. It's a powerful paradox, isn't it? Whoever clings to his life will lose it, but whoever lays it down will find it. I mean, on the surface, that sounds kind of crazy. It goes against every survival instinct we have. So what in the world does he mean by life? And what does it mean to lose it? Okay, to really unpack this, we're going to walk through 5 key steps. We'll start with this central puzzle, then we'll define what this life or self really is. After that, we'll see how this whole thing actually plays out in the real world, day to day. Then we'll look at the results of this process. And finally, we'll land on the main point of it all, surrender. All right, let's jump right in with that big paradox, losing your life to find it. What exactly is the life that we're being asked to lay down here? Well, first things first, this is not about physical death. It's not a call to martyrdom for most people. The life Jesus is talking about is an internal one. It's what the source for our explainer today calls the self, that inner world of our own thoughts, our own ambitions, and our own desires. Okay, so if it's about laying down the self, we gotta get specific. What is this self that we're all born with? Think of the self, sometimes it's called the flesh, as our default human operating system. It's the way we naturally think and feel and react and even love when we're running completely on our own power, apart from God. It's the life we just start with. And this really gets to the heart of the conflict. It's like we have 2 operating systems to choose from. On the left, you've got that self-directed life. It runs on human strength, follows human desires. It's what we're all born into. But on the right, there's this other option, a spiritual life, a spirit-directed life that we can only receive from God. And the whole journey Jesus is describing is about moving from that first column over to the second. So this all sounds pretty abstract, right? The self, the cross. How does this actually show up in our real everyday lives? This is where it gets really practical. You see, the cross isn't just about random suffering. It's described here as a very specific tool, an instrument, and its purpose is to bring that self-directed life to an end. And where does it show up? Well, it tends to appear right where the self is the most powerful, in our deepest relationships, our biggest ambitions, and the things we're most attached to. Just think about how this plays out in love, for example. Love from the flesh, from our natural self, is possessive. It says, I love you because you are mine. It's centered on my feelings, my needs. But love that comes from God is totally different. It puts God's will first. It says, I love you because God loves you, even when that might conflict with our own natural feelings. And we see this exact conflict play out so clearly in the Bible. Jesus tells his disciples he's going to Jerusalem to suffer and die. And his friend Peter, probably acting out of what he thought was pure love and loyalty, pulls him aside and says this, Lord, be merciful to yourself. This shall never happen to you. But Jesus' reaction is, well, it's shocking. He turns and rebukes Peter, calling him Satan. Why? Because Jesus hears what's really driving those words. It's not real love. It's the voice of the flesh, that deep instinct for self-preservation that will resist the will of God at any and all costs. And right after shutting down that self-preserving instinct in Peter, Jesus gives the alternative. He lays out this simple 3-step rhythm for his followers. Number 1, deny yourself. Number 2, take up your cross. And number 3, follow me. And the key is this isn't a one-time thing. It's presented as a daily command, a daily choice. Now, to really drive home the danger of being attached to the things of this world, Jesus gives another incredibly stark warning. He just says two words: remember Lot's wife. And what's so powerful about that story is that her fatal mistake wasn't a physical act. She didn't actually run back to the city. It was an inward turn of the heart. That one look back revealed that her affection, her longing, was still tied to the world she was supposed to be leaving behind. And that is exactly what the cross is for, to sever that hidden inner craving. Okay, so this all sounds pretty grim, right? All this talk of death and loss. But remember the paradox we started with. You lose your life to find it. So what rises up from the ashes when the self is finally surrendered? Well, Jesus explains it with this really simple, beautiful image from farming. He says a single grain of wheat is just a single grain. It has to fall into the ground and die to its original form. Only then can it unlock its potential and produce a huge harvest of new life. And this is what dies at the cross. Let's be really clear. It's not your personality or your talents or your gifts. It's the self-centered motivation behind them. It's the ambition for my glory, the reliance on my strength, the pity for my circumstances, the insistence on my will. For any real spiritual fruit to grow, this self-life has to give way. And that brings us to our final section, which really reframes this whole conversation. This is the absolute core of it all. It's about a great exchange. And here's the crucial distinction. The way of the cross isn't primarily about gritting your teeth and just enduring pain. That's actually still relying on your own strength. The core action, the real point, is a conscious, willing act of surrender. It's about handing the keys over from that self-directed life to the spirit-directed one. And this is the great exchange that takes place. It is not just about emptying yourself. It's about being filled with something better. Look at this. Where your own self-will dies, God's will actually starts to feel sweet. Where self-pity dies, His power becomes real in your life. Every single part of the self that we surrender is replaced by the very life of God Himself. And so we're left with this final piercing question, because this isn't just some abstract theology, right? It's a daily choice. The cross shows up in small frustrations, in difficult conversations, in moments that test our pride and our patience. And in those moments, we have a choice. Which life will we feed? The old one that we're clinging to, or the new one that we can only find by finally letting go?